We are 2 for 2 this week, as Justice Kennedy gets it right. Mostly. I'm Mark Stewart. This is the Daily Fire for June 6th. I am referring to the case before the Supreme Court about Colorado's anti-discrimination law that was, until this week, held up to prevent a baker from withholding his services. This is Mr. Phillips, owner of the Masterpiece Bake Shop. He didn't want to bake a cake for 2 gay men for their wedding. The Colorado court refused to hear it, but the Supreme Court did. And 7-2, they pretty much got it right that the Colorado board was wrongly targeting his religion. This man's religion thinks of gay marriage as an abomination. He has every right to refuse and withhold his services. And that's because freedom of association should be sacrosanct in private conduct. Public Religion Research Institute says 60% of Americans are opposed to allowing religiously based refusals of services. Well, count me among the 40% who would like to have religiously based refusal of services. Or, I'll go further, any base refusal of services. It is your privacy right to associate with who you want in your private dealings, in your home, in your businesses. The right of private association is a privacy right that we all have. And let me say, it actually gives us dignity. Discrimination uplifts us because we who discriminate properly show ourselves to be elevating for good reasons. We who discriminate improperly show the world that we're obtuse pigs. We who can't discriminate because of a law are stifled from this. And look, I've asked this of gay Americans. Would you rather have somebody serve you because he wants to or because he's compelled to? Across the board, it's wants to. And since we have choice, the person has no need to be going to that baker. Of all people, why do you need him? In the Northeast, almost nobody discriminates based on race anymore. And those who do, they brand themselves as dopes. We can discriminate and should discriminate on class, on intelligence, on on goodness. Baking a cake in Lakewood, Colorado is not interstate commerce. Congress has no business legislating this. Now, it stems way back from 1964, Title II of the Civil Rights Act. But that is an overreach of power. Even the broadest meaning of the Commerce Clause does not get you one bake shop in a local market. Now, the best reasoning says to the gay couple, find another baker! Okay? I'll make an analogy. If somebody discriminates against me because I'm short, I say, you're stupid. And I go elsewhere. It's fine. There are enough people who will deal with people like me that I don't have to worry. And I don't have to feel like an indignity is being imposed upon me. But even if I do, it's not being imposed on the state. Indignities are not a protected right. Now, a lot of us will say, there ought to be a law so that we treat people nicer. There is a law. It's a moral one. It's one that we don't have to codify with legislation from the state enforced by court after court. Now, I do think state action requires an anti-discrimination mantra, but private does not. Now, let me give you the toughest area. This is where you have powerful private organizations. And 50 years ago, country clubs where the powerful and wealthy and typically white and male convened, that was an economic barrier to those on the outs. And blacks were being economically discriminated against when they couldn't enter clubs that had that much power. I don't think we have that anymore. And to the extent there might be a few cabals of power that really do discriminate, there are enough people who don't want to do business with them because of their power and because of their piggishness. Why would I, who generally champions the underdog, want to do business with some fat, cigar-smoking, chaw-spitting redneck? I'll go elsewhere. So let them have their private, maybe even discriminatory clubs. The rest of us will do fine, probably will do better, and those guys will sink to the bottom in terms of social scorn and likely business. Back to the business of the baker. I'll make an analogy. If you were asked to do business with a criminal, somebody who in the activity that you're abetting is doing embezzlement, you would come nowhere near that guy. This baker feels like he's violating God's law. We shouldn't condemn him from staying away from that kind of violation. I'm Mark Stewart, imploring that the higher morality and the real Constitution can come forth for all Americans. But let's at least start here in Connecticut.